I didn't realize how much fear contributed to my life.
Hey Limitless Nation, today you're in for a real treat. Today you get to learn directly from Kim Kenny. Kim Kenny is a wife, a mother, with 4 grown kids. She is also a mamaw to 3 grandbabies. As a transformational health coach, she helps Christian women with 50 plus pounds to lose that are sick and tired of dieting. She helps them rev up their energy, to overcome their cravings, and to lose the weight that they've been dreading forever by taking them through the same methods and process that she herself has gone through to lose in excess of 84 pounds. Kim Kenny believes in healing the body through nutrition and that natural foods are the best way to go in order to create dramatic, life-changing, and long-lasting sustainable impact for the body both now and in the future. Kim Kenny is passionate about helping women feel empowered to be themselves in their own skin and believes that anyone can have the body that they want to have with the lifestyle that they want to live while maintaining a healthy relationship with healthy foods. In today's masterclass, you're going to learn directly from the master herself, Kim Kenny. Let's dive into it.
Before you dive into today's masterclass session, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the button below. It allows you to receive notification bell every single time we provide you with the contents that allows you to live a limitless life. Now, if you want to go deeper on learning on how you can hunt your future, make sure you download our masterclass session at huntyourfuture.com. It allows you to know exactly what you need to do to hunt your future. Plus, we are also going to share with you tips and tricks on what you need to do to live a limitless life starting from today's forward. Now, let's dive into today's masterclass sessions.
Hey, welcome Kim Kenny.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Absolutely. And it's a pleasure and privilege to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Now, here at the Limitless Nation, we have a tradition of starting every interview with a limitless quote or mantra. So do you have a limitless quote or mantra?
I have a couple. So one of my mantras is, does this contribute to the life that I want to create? And then the other one is a Bible verse that I follow in Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That works very well with what I work on.
Yes, and that seems like a very positive, straightforward, forward momentum type movement where does this help me get forward and does this help me expand my mindset? I like it. Now, in expanding your mindset, as if you expand anything, it takes a little bit of push and pull, give and not so much give. And you have to go through some challenging times. So can you share with the Limitless Nation a challenge, a setback, or something that you've had to get through to get to where you are now?
Yeah, this is a big part of my story. I struggled with my weight since my early 20s. I had 4 kids, and with each child that I had, I gained weight in my pregnancy. And despite what everybody said, I never lost the weight after the pregnancy. And then fast forward to 4 years ago, I ended up in the hospital. I was at my highest weight of 330 pounds, and I'm only 5 feet tall. I was in the ICU for 8 days. My oxygen levels were at 60%. I was put on BiPAP. It was very, very serious. That was kind of my rock bottom. That was the moment where I realized I was just headed down a downward spiral and things were not going to get better. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel, fatty liver, anxiety, depression, and then this breathing difficulty on top of all of that. So that was my rock bottom.
That is a lot to go through.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm really curious, and I'm sure that the Limitless family is as well. What was that moment where you just had your aha moment where everything just, clicked? Like, how did you go from all of that? And that list is probably as long as my arm. How did you get from all of that to where you are now?
Well, like I said, it was the rock bottom. And it was very eye-opening. I was at the mercy of the doctors and the nurses in the ICU. because my oxygen levels were so low and because I was hooked up to machines, I couldn't leave the bed. So they had to do all of my care. And because I was so heavy, if they had to change my sheets or move me to another bed, then it took 4 of them to move me. And I realized I didn't want to do that to my family. I didn't want to go home and have to have my family look after me the way they looked after me in the hospital. So that just led me on a journey to get my health back. And I mean, I used to be tiny, tiny, tiny. And just over the years with stress and different things in my life, it just kept coming on. And after that stay in the hospital, I didn't want to put my family through that. So that was my turnaround moment.
That's amazing. So you realized that this is kind of what's going to happen to me if I stay on this path, and you didn't want your family to go through that.
Yeah, it wasn't fair. They were all trying, my kids were all grown and starting families of their own, getting married, whatever. My husband was working and trying to care for me, and I didn't want to be a burden on everybody. I like to be the one who's the caregiver, and it was really difficult being the one that had to be looked after.
So with all of that happening in your life, and that's a lot to go through, anxiety, depression, weight, having kids, that's a lot. But what are you working on now?
Hope you enjoyed the masterclass session so far. Before we get into the second half of the session itself, it is very crucial for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I really don't want you to miss out on another masterclass where I'm going to share with you what other expert celebrities, Fortune 5000 companies do to become successful and live a limitless life. So make sure you subscribe right now, and every single time we upload a new video, you will receive a notification bell. This allows you to enjoy the masterclass on the regular basis. So make sure you subscribe right now. Well, as you are ready, let's get into the second half of the masterclass session.
So the journey to get better actually led me to health coaching. And I had heard of life coaches, but I'd never heard of health coaches. So it just opened a whole other world for me. And I realized that this was the path that I wanted to take. This was the solution, not just to help me lose weight, but to help me get back into the work field, because I had also been off work for 2 years on disability. So it led me to health coaching, and that's where I'm at right now, working with other women who have 50 plus pounds to lose, and just kind of helping them along the same steps that I've taken, only I've made the mistakes. So now I can teach them the path without the mistakes.
Yeah, because I had the privilege of seeing one of your Facebook Lives, and I thought it was very inspiring.
Thank you.
Now, where can the Limitless Nation viewers and listeners go to learn more about you as well as to connect with you?
The best place to connect with me is my Facebook group. So the group is called Ditch the Diet, Lose Weight and Feel Great Without Deprivation. And I have a number wonderful women in there. I give live trainings every week, try and provide as much help as I can. I also have a paid program, but I love to start my members out in the free group. And then they can get a feel for who I am and what I do, and they get to follow my story as well.
It's a powerful one, how you went from all of that difficulty and stress and just life pummeling you to now where you're really thriving and you're helping other people get through that same series of challenges and difficulties and obstacles.
I've lost 84 pounds. I was also on $200 of medication 4 years ago, and I'm off of all of my medication now. So everything I've done has been healing my body through nutrition, and it just, like, the anxiety, the depression, everything is gone. It's just amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So in going through this and becoming a health coach, what would you say was something that was really holding you back as you started to do this, that was really holding you back from becoming limitless?
Fear. I didn't realize how much fear contributed to my life until I became a health coach and started working through the mindset, which is why I love the verse about transforming your mind. I realized in the past, I would get to a certain point, and then that fear and self-sabotage would kick in, and I would start to emotionally eat and self-soothe with food, and the cravings would hit. And I recognized that it was all based on fear, because I felt a number of traumas that I had been through. On top of all the health issues, I had been through a number of traumas. So the weight made me feel safe. So fear was holding me back, fear of failing. I didn't realize how much it affected my life until I really started to do the mind work.
Wow. Yeah. Because for a lot of people, and what you just told me, everything is right in between your own ears, and getting over your own barriers that you put in front of yourself.
Once I recognized that it wasn't the weight that was keeping me safe, it was my mind that keeps me safe, that I'm not the 14-year-old girl that I was. I am a 55-year-old woman who is strong mentally, emotionally, and physically, and I don't have to be afraid anymore, and I can move forward, and I can do the things I want, and I don't have to be afraid.
I agree. How did you learn that it was nutrition that was just going to change everything for you? Because it sounds like the biggest shift from where you were at 300 pounds to where you are now is a complete change of your nutrition that allowed you to get off of all that medication. But how did you know that that was it?
I didn't. I had heard that changing the way I eat would change my health, and I never believed anybody. I thought, there's no way that the food I'm eating is making me sick. I'm sick. This is something physically wrong. So it kind of came by surprise when I started training to become a health coach. The plan that I started to follow, which is just following the food guide, eating food from all the food groups, eating foods that aren't processed, and portioning them out in proper, smaller portions and proper portions. That's when I started noticing that I began to feel better, and I was waking up in the mornings and not feeling like a truck drove over me in the night. I wasn't having to hit the snooze as much. I was waking up before the alarm. I was feeling happier, and I was having less and less anxiety. And as that continued, then that's when the blood pressure went down and the cholesterol leveled out. Because of the food, the diabetes, of course, is going to level out from the food. And so it was just a really pleasant surprise that it all happened through nutrition.
That is incredible.
Thank you.
So not to pry too much on this, but I am curious.
Yeah.
In your nutrition, it's, from what you just said, it's all basically whole foods and skipping all the processed stuff. How difficult was it to keep to that new diet?
Well, I don't always skip it because I don't believe that it's possible. Okay, there are some people who can do it, but most people can't cut all of the processed food, all of the takeout, all of the junk out. So if you try and follow an 80-20 rule, 80% of the time I eat well. And then 20% of the time I allow myself to have some of the treats. But when I have the treats, I take smaller amounts. I take a long time to chew it. So I really savor each bite rather than punishing myself the whole time I'm eating it, saying, I got to eat this quickly because I'm not supposed to have it. Instead, I just enjoy it. But by eating well 80% of the time, then I find that I'm not craving the other foods as much because now my body is full of nutrition. So when you start craving, it's usually because you're missing something in your diet. So by eating the proper foods, I don't have the cravings like I used to.
And that's amazing, because I know of plenty of people who have heard that they need to go on whole foods and skip the processed stuff. And I know from watching people, as well as a little bit in my own life, that it's difficult to completely cut out processed foods, or rather, most people don't understand how much food is processed.
Oh gosh, yeah. And they think that they can't afford to eat healthy. But if you look at the processed food that you're buying, and if you replace that with whole foods, it really doesn't cost more to eat healthy.
Right.
And that was an excuse I used all the time before too. It's too expensive. It's not.
Yes. Yes. You can have the bell pepper or the bag of chips. They
Exactly.
both cost the same, but you can't have both.
Yes. And after a while, the pepper or the cucumbers or whatever, the vegetables, the fruits that you're eating, you actually start to crave those over the junk food. I'll be honest. I was out with my husband today. We stopped at the coffee shop and I had a donut and it was gross. And it had lots of chocolate and it was gross. Before, I would have devoured that and wanted another, and I didn't want it today. I would rather have had some fruit and vegetables, which is crazy to even imagine.
Yeah, and fruit and vegetables is what has a natural sweetness to it instead of that artificial. And then after a while, your body resets, and then you kind of get in tune to what you really need instead of something that's so artificial that your body rejects.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So with you having helped so many different people from all around the world, what is the best piece of advice that you yourself have ever been given that you can now pass on to the Limitless Nation?
Taking the time to eat your food and to chew. So our saliva actually has digestive enzymes. So the longer you chew your bite of food, the more it breaks it down. And then when it goes through your digestive system, your body can take the nutrients out of the food instead of having to work so hard to digest. I actually had a client who said, well, if my body has to work harder to digest, does that mean I burn more calories? No. It just means that because it has to work so hard, more food's going to go to fat stores. So chew your food and then take 20 minutes to eat your meal. By slowing down, that opens your digestion. It helps you relax. And it helps you absorb the nutrients from your food. That's been really, really important for me. And then you end up not eating as much.
Wow. That's incredible. So with you having made this entire completely shift from where you were to where you are now and helping so many other people, that takes a different in mindset as well as habits. So because what you were eating at that weight and what you're eating now cannot be the same in order to have a completely radical transformation.
Right.
So what is a habit or ritual that you had to adapt into your life that has helped you maintain this limitless life?
Part of it would be a little bit of meal planning. I'm not the kind of person who plans my meals for the next 7 days or the next month. And I don't meal prep per se. Like I don't spend 3 hours on Sunday prepping for the week, but I do decide the night before what I'm going to eat the next day. So because then I know what's happening the next day. And then I can plan accordingly. So if I'm going to be out running errands in the car, then I know, okay, I need to eat before I leave, or I need to take this food with me. And then I know what I'm having for dinner the next day. So it's not 5 o'clock at night and everything's in the freezer. And then I say to my husband, oh, can you pick this up on the way home instead? That's been one of the biggest shifts, is just cooking at home more often and planning ahead, whether it's the night before or the morning of. But if you know what you're going to make for the day, it makes all the difference in the world. And it doesn't have to be such a big issue. Like you can do it one day at a time.
Yes, and that makes it so much simpler, because
Yes.
if you're gonna be like a mouse eating an entire block of cheese, that's a kind of ginormous task instead of just taking it one slice at a time.
Well, and I'm a perfectionist. So when I would decide, okay, I'm going to do the meal planning and I'm going to do 8 weeks of rotation, and then I would get the chart out and I'd be writing out recipes and looking up new recipes. And it was so much. It just so much.
That would be overwhelming.
It was. And so then I would do nothing.
Yeah, that's definitely sounds accurate.
Yeah.
And you got to balance it, and you've obviously found that balance. Now, can you share with the Limitless Nation in one sentence, what are you most grateful for today?
I am most grateful for ending up in the hospital 4 years ago, because it changed my life.
Yeah, that's the where it all started.
Yeah, I love that question. Wow, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I think that's what I'm most grateful for. I mean, it was the worst time in my life, but it changed everything.
I completely. Now, let's say in a scenario, you came home one day after running an errand, and then you walk into your library and you notice that there were no books in your library. And then you look at your phone and then you realize that you have almost no money in your bank account. but you have enough money in your bank account to buy one book. It can be any book, but it can only be one book. What is the first book you would get?
Right now, I am reading a book called Rejection Proof. What's the guy's name? It's a Chinese name. I think it's Jia Jiang. Jia is his first name. Rejection Proof. So he set out to 100 days of rejection, and it's so good. Because you can use it in so many areas of your life, like not just in business, but even in your personal areas. And he found that the more he got rejected, the less afraid of being rejected he was. So that's my favorite book right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I've never heard of that before, but I know it's true.
Yeah.
Because in a past life, I went door to door selling popcorn.
Oh, God. Yeah. So you would know the rejection.
Yes. And it was exciting, though, because because I knew I only had to knock on 10 doors to get a sale. And so by the time I got to door 9, even though I'd been told no 8 times, I knew that there's got to be a yes. And if I went through 20 doors where there was a no in every single door, well, that means there's got to be a string of yeses somewhere.
That's really cool.
So
yeah.
It's exciting. Let's say in a hypothetical world, if you had the ability to travel back through time and space and talk to a younger version of yourself, possibly at a difficulty or a dark time or just a challenge, what would you say to that individual?
I was the typical woman or typical person who would say, I'm going to start on Monday. And then I would spend the next few days pigging out on everything, because in my mind, it was the last time I was going to be able to eat these foods. And it was time to lose the weight. And then Monday would come and I would have another excuse to not start, maybe because I hadn't bought groceries, because I had 4 kids at home. And so then I would never start. So then I would, a week later, I'd binge again. So I think the advice I would give myself back then is to stop being overwhelmed, stop looking at the big picture, because I would look at how much weight I had to lose and think, oh, it's too hard. So stop looking at the big picture. Just make some small changes and don't cut out the junk food. Just cut back on the junk food. Like I said, 80-20. If I had done that back at 185 pounds when I thought I was huge, I wouldn't have got to 330 pounds. And I wouldn't have been as sick as I was.
Yes. Wow. That is incredible, because it's true. It's true that most people, when they get overwhelmed with something, like if you're going to, like New Year's resolutions, and they want to start exercising, they eat all the junk food possible. And then they're going to say, on Monday, when I feel terrible, they don't know that, but when they feel terrible, they're going to start exercising, and it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And you know what? This year was the first year where I felt really, really proud of how far I had come the previous year. And I didn't need to make a New Year's resolution this year, because I'm living it every day.
I would. Now, tell us again, Kim, where can the Limitless Nation viewers and listeners go to learn more about you, your story, to connect with you, and just say hi?
Yes, you can follow me on Facebook. You can look me up under Kim Kenny. And the cover page will actually give you a link to my Facebook group, which is Ditch the Diet, Lose Weight, and Feel Great Without Deprivation. You can also follow me on Instagram, Kim Loses 180 Pounds.
That is definitely an inspiration.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And thank you very much for your time, Kim.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was
nice.
Absolutely exciting. I'm sure that the Limitless Nation has been inspired by your story. I know that I personally have been blown away, astonished, and just in sheer awe of the obstacles that you were able to not just overcome, but just extremely just break through, because you went from having 4 kids, progressively gaining weight, to being on over $200 worth of medication for anxiety, depression. I'm sure you suffered from self-image, self-worth, and a whole lot of other things that just as long as my arm and longer. All of that you went through that landed you in the ICU for 8 days. And it brought you to your senses, brought you to the realization that something needs to change and it needs to change now. And from there, you decided, instead of being selfish and continuing the way you were, you wanted to really become better. And you took that as a step forward. And now you have become much better. You've become the life that you wanted to live in the first place. And instead of keeping all those secrets to yourself, you're now going out and helping hundreds of thousands of other people live their best life by encouraging them to lose the weight that they don't need, to get off the depression medications that they don't need, and the anxiety medications, and all these things that they don't need when they follow a healthy, balanced plan that works for them. And that is just incredible to see.
Thank you. Oh, I love the way you put that all together.
You're most welcome. Well, until next time, this is Donovan saying, stay limitless.
Well, that's a wrap. Please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the word subscribe. And if you want to go deeper on learning on what you need to do to hunt your future, make sure you watch the interview that I've done with Donovan on what you need to do to hunt your future on every aspect of your being. This allows you to live a limitless life on every aspect of your life, starting from today's forward. Plus, you are going to receive tips and tricks on what you need to do to tackle your day, tackle your challenges on every situation, every single time. So go ahead and download it right now. And until then, stay limitless forever.
She believes in hearing in master nutritionist herself. Don't say nutritionist.